Prakrit Mohinim Shritaha. Translation: those who are bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. Purport: there are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service, going back to Godhead, will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. In other words, persons who mock Krishna are to be understood to be demonic or atheistic. As described in the seventh chapter of Bhagavad Gita, such demonic miscreants never surrender to Krishna. Therefore, their mental speculations to arrive at the absolute truth bring them to the false conclusion that the ordinary living entity and Krishna are one and the same. With such a false conviction, they think that the body of any human being is now simply covered by material nature, and that as soon as one is liberated from this material body, there is no difference between God and himself. This attempt to become one with Krishna will be baffled because of delusion. Such atheistic and demonic cultivation of spiritual knowledge is always futile. That is the indication of this verse. For such persons, cultivation of that knowledge in the Vedic literature, like the Vedanta Sutra and the Upanishads, is always baffled. It is a great offense, therefore, to consider Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be an ordinary man. Those who do so are certainly deluded because they cannot understand the eternal form of Krishna. The Brihad Vishnu Samriti clearly states, Yo veti bhautikam deham. Can you scroll up?
Is that better?
No.
Oh, but it's on the screen
Are
right
you
now.
scrolling? I cannot see any movement. Yeah, now.
Mm.
Okay, now it is. Okay. Yo veti bhautikam deham Krishnasya parmatmanah स सर्वस्माद् बहिष्कार्यः श्रौत समार्थ विधानतः मुखं तस्यावलोक्यापि स चेलं स्नानम् आचरेत्. One who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and the Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself. Wait, maybe I can open my book. Something is wrong with the network, I guess.
Mm.
Just to, yeah. And if one who considers the body of Krishna to be material should be driven out from all rituals and activities of the Shruti and the Smriti. And if one by chance sees his face, one should at once take bath in the Ganges to rid himself of infection. People jeer at Krishna because they are envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Their destiny is certainly to take birth after birth in the species of atheistic and demonic life. Perpetually, their real knowledge will remain under delusion, and gradually they will regress to the darkest region of creation.
So what is Krishna saying?
Like who considers him as ordinary,
Yeah,
they have to suffer the consequences. Yeah.
yeah. They can't go back home, back to Godhead. So somebody may be engaged in devotional service, or they may assume themselves to be in devotional service, doing those activities, but ultimately they may think, oh, there's no difference between Krishna and me, that I'm engaging in devotional service right now. I'm engaging now in hearing and chanting because after I die, I'm going to become one with Krishna. Yeah, there are some personal people like that too. So
Mm.
Like, I don't know if you've heard some people give that example, or there is a pot, there's sky inside the pot. And when the pot breaks, the sky inside the pot it mixes with the sky around. So then there's no difference between that right now the soul is because it's in the material body, but after the body is gone, then the soul is gonna become God. So, but these are not authorized versions. Authorized version is we are part and parcel of God. We are not sky, we are not dead matter. We are conscious living beings, individual souls. Sky is just dead matter, right? Or water is dead matter, whereas soul is individual, has consciousness. So we are part and parcel of God. Okay. So any comments or questions?
The fruitive activities here are those like karmas, fruitive activities.
Yeah, fruitive activities or the rituals.
Okay.
The rituals. Because somebody may think I'm gonna do some rituals which is gonna get me to uh, get out of this material world. But that's not gonna happen
Okay.
because not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord.
Mm.
So surrender to
Okay.
Krishna is the point because Krishna says in the 7th chapter, 7.14, that this material world very difficult to overcome. But those who surrender to me can very easily cross beyond it. So, because by the path of gyan or karma or dhyan, then one is depending on one's own ability. But if we have to cross an ocean, we cannot swim across an ocean. Not possible for us. We need a boat. We need a help. So that boat is the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. We need Krishna's help to help get us out of this material world. So somebody may say, oh, well, I'm going to use Krishna's help during this lifetime to get out of the material world. And then after I die, I'm going to become Krishna. I'm going to merge into Krishna. No, but then such people also can't go back home, back to Godhead because of not understanding Krishna's position and our own position. So that's why surrender to Krishna is needed. Understanding that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Is that okay?
Yes. So, like, we should not, like, I heard once that we should not spend our time with the Mayavadis, but we can spend our time with materialistic people because Mayavadis are more dangerous than the materialistic ones.
Hmm. Well, the idea, see, because now in modern times, we can't like kind of actually stay away from people because we may need to meet them for work or, for different responsibilities. So what's the idea is don't take instructions from them.
Okay.
The
Like, no, don't get
instructions,
it.
yeah, the instructions, we don't discuss philosophy or the
Mm.
instructions.
Okay.
Instructions should be taken from the devotee.
Okay.
Mm.
Mm.
Okay, so we'll go to the next one.
Yeah. Text 13. Mahatmana tu mam partha दैवेन प्रकृतिम आश्रिता भजन्ते अनन्य मनसो ज्ञात्वा भूतादिम अव्ययाम. Translation: O son of Pratha, Those who are not deluded, the great souls under the protection of the divine nature, they are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Purport. In this verse, the description of Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That in the 7th chapter, one who surrenders unto the
Hare
Supreme
Krishna, Neetu.
Personality of Godhead.
1 minute.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Neetu, your voice is breaking quite a bit. I'm not sure, is it my network or is it yours or?
Oh, I don't know. I'm on data actually.
Okay. So
Yeah.
we'll read
Should
again.
I start again?
Yeah, from the purport.
Yeah. Okay. Purport. In this verse, the description of the Mahatma is clearly given. The first sign of the Mahatma is that he is already situated in the divine nature. He is not under the control of material nature. And how is this effected? That is explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. That is the qualification. One can become free from the control of material nature as soon as he surrenders his soul to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the preliminary formula. Being marginal potency, as soon as a living entity is freed from the control of material nature, he is put under the guidance of the spiritual nature. The guidance of the spiritual nature is called Daivi Prakriti, divine nature. So, when one is promoted in that way, by surrendering to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one attains to the stage of great soul, Mahatma. The Mahatma does not divert his attention to anything outside Krishna because he knows perfectly well that Krishna is the original Supreme Person, the cause of all causes. There is no doubt about it. Such a Mahatma of great soul developed through association with other Mahatmas, pure devotees. Pure devotees are not even attracted by Krishna's other features, such as four-armed Mahavishnu. They are simply attracted by the two-armed form of Krishna. They are not attracted to other features of Krishna, nor are they concerned without any form of a demigod or of a human being. They meditate only upon Krishna in Krishna consciousness. They are always engaged in the unswerving service of the Lord in Krishna consciousness.
So what do we understand from here? What is Krishna saying? Who's he speaking about?
He is speaking about the Mahatma,
Mhm.
describing the Mahatma and the great souls who are under the protection of the Supreme Personality because they are fully in devotional service.
Yeah. So Mahatma
Fully
means
engaged,
a pure devotee. Yeah.
pure devotee.
Yeah. So that's what Krishna is saying, that soul is a Mahatma, Mahatma, great soul, a pure devotee. So surrender to Krishna. As we just read, was saying when we were reading the earlier verse, to get out of this material world, surrender to Krishna is needed. So here Prabhupada is saying, one who surrenders unto Krishna at once becomes freed from the control of material nature. So surrender to Krishna. And then Krishna takes care. One may think, oh, well, if I surrender to Krishna, I will, you know, uh, be taken advantage of. I will be destroyed. No, in fact, Krishna is the supreme protector. If we have somebody who's the most powerful person to protect us, then we don't need to worry about anything. We may think, no, no, I'm very strong, I can protect myself. But then we can see when there are certain situations we really can't do anything. Suddenly when there are earthquakes or some situations beyond our control, then we feel, oh, what to do? Actually, the Krishna is the greatest protector. So we need to surrender to Krishna. So Krishna, how can one become a Mahatma? How can one become a pure devotee? Because one may not be a pure devotee. So how can one become a pure devotee?
By surrendering and
Mhm.
under the spiritual guidance.
Yeah, by association with the pure devotees.
Pure.
Yeah, when we associate, like we take on the color of the association, right? The people we associate with, we take on that color. Means we get those qualities as the people we associate with. So association with the pure devotees. So the pure devotees, they are just attracted to Shyam Sundar Krishna. And their object of worship, object of love is Shyam Sundar Krishna. Okay, go to the next one then.
Text 14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridvrataः namasyantascha mam bhaktaya nityayukta upasate. Translation. Always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. The Mahatma cannot be manufactured by rubber stamping an ordinary man. His symptoms are described here. A Mahatma is always engaged in chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. He has no other business. He is always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. In other words, he is not an impersonalist. When the question of glorification is there, one has to glorify the Supreme Lord, praising His holy name, His eternal form, His transcendental qualities, and His uncommon pastimes. One has to glorify all these things. Therefore, a Mahatma is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is attached to the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti, is not described as Mahatma in the Bhagavad Gita. He is described in a different way in the next verse. The Mahatma is always engaged in different activities of devotional service as described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing and chanting about Vishnu, not a demigod or human being. That is devotion. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoha and Smaranam remembering him. Such a Mahatma has firm determination to achieve at the ultimate end of the association of the Supreme Lord in any one of the five transcendental ras. To achieve that success, he engages all activities, mental, bodily, and vocal, everything in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is called full Krishna consciousness. In devotional service, there are certain activities which are called determined, such as fasting on certain days, like the 11th day of the moon, Ekadashi, and on the appearance day of the Lord. All these rules and regulations are offered by the great acharyas for those who are actually interested in getting admission into the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the transcendental world. The Mahatmas, great souls, strictly observe all these rules and regulations, and therefore they are sure to achieve the desired result. As described in the second verse of this chapter, not only is this devotional service easy, but it can be performed in a happy mood. One does not need to undergo any severe penance and austerity. He can live this life in devotional service, guided by an expert spiritual master, and in any position, either as a householder or a sannyasi or a brahmachari. In any position and anywhere in the world, he can perform this devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thus become actually Mahatma, a great soul.
So what are the Mahatmas doing?
Mahatma is like always glorifying Krishna. He's he's chanting his name, hearing his name, and remembering
Yeah,
Krishna. He's like totally attached to him.
yeah, completely. Always means 24/7. He's
Mm.
engaged in devotional service. So this pure devotee who's always engaged in devotional service is a Mahatma. We can see, Because Krishna first says that Mahatma is one who is completely surrendered to him. Then now he's telling us what the Mahatma is doing the whole day, always hearing and chanting about Krishna. Yeah.
So Prabhupada, was he Mahatma or
Yeah, of course.
he was Mahatma, right? We can call him.
Yes, yes, for sure. He's a great personality, a Mahatma, pure devotee. Prabhupada was always hearing and chanting about Krishna.
And also they are like they do not come under the control of Maya, right?
Yeah,
Like we, yeah,
yeah. That's what we just, the earlier verse, right?
yeah,
That they are under the
um,
protection of the
spiritual nature.
spiritual nature. Yeah. So Srila Prabhupada. Yes.
Mm.
Okay. So should we go one more verse or one? Let's read one more.
Okay.
Neetu, you can read?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Text 15. Yana yatnena chapi anya yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prataktavena bahuda vishwatu mukham. Translation. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many, and in the universal form. Purport. This verse is a summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financial destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord, he who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that, and he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monists, are the most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body but are actually spiritual soul. At least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class includes the worshippers of the demigods, those who, by imagination, consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord, and the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. That universe is also a form of the Lord.
Mm. So Krishna was speaking of the pure devotee in the previous verse. And now
Yeah.
he's speaking about, who is he speaking about?
Mahatma again.
So he said that the Mahatma is the pure devotee that he said in the previous verse. And he said that the Mahatma is all the time engaged in hearing and chanting. But now, other than Mahatma, there are others also who are trying
Yeah.
to cultivate knowledge about God. Who are trying some level, because everybody cannot be on the same level. So everybody is in a
Yeah.
different stage,
Different. Exactly.
in the evolution. So of course, some come to Krishna for some benefit. Like Prabhupada would tell the devotees, mostly we have come to Krishna uh, with distress, to get freedom from distress. Yeah. So anyway, 4 types of people come to Krishna. Those who are distressed, who are need of some economic resources, inquisitive, and who are in knowledge. Apart from that, apart from these, then there's the one who's following the path of Gyan, who's understanding that that I'm a spirit soul and God is spirit, so I am that spirit, I am God. So at least they have an understanding that they're not the body. So at least that consciousness is there. So it's still a higher consciousness than just thinking about the body. At least there's some consciousness of difference between spirit and matter. And then there are others who say that, oh, you can worship anyone, everyone is God. Any demigod is God. And then again, then there is another one who has no conception of God, but who understand, okay, this universe is all in all. So at least they are coming to understand that there is a greater power than me, you know. And so then they worship the universal form of the Lord, understanding, okay, this universe is greater than me. So all these are various processes uh, by which one is trying to come towards the Lord. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Any comment? Question?
No, all good.
Okay, then let's stop here. Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you for listening.